Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Hey guys, back in action now though. My skin's still a little red, but it's okay. Because the car's basically sat for a month, their batteries, which are all the cheapest Walmart batteries you can get, they were almost dead, not enough to start the car. And so I jump started one of them, and it's also at springtime, it's raining a bunch, so sometimes you might see on my channel, like I'll have some of the cars in the backyard or whatever, and I kind of rotate them out. Right now it's springtime, raining a bunch, so I don't want cars sitting around in the yard, so I've moved everything into the driveway. So I had the red V6 on the battery tender, and I'm walking out there to the green Bullet to swap the battery tender over, and the neighbor's kid comes over, and I say his kid, his adult son comes over, and he was talking to me about, like, you know, how I got the cars and stuff, and I told him what I put out in my previous video about, like, how I got my fleet, how I got my Mustangs, right? It was, you know, I had a job that paid out, I've never made, like, a ton of money, but, you know, my last job paid near six figures, which was great. That's amazing. My next job will hopefully make that much as well because I need it. But the job also paid out a yearly bonus, which was, I mean, a blessing. It really was, because a lot of places don't do that anymore. And so what I would do is when a car came up, there's cars that I'm looking for, right? And I would kind of keep my eye out for them. And they're very specific, the cars that I want. And it's a very specific to me and very detailed list of things that I'm looking for. And it's mainly cars that need some maintenance, but they're not that bad. But maybe somebody got the car and they had all these big plans and then it didn't really work out, or something else went bad or something. And it's like, it's not just the car I'm looking for, it's the person that has the car too. So when I go looking for a car that I want, a lot of times it takes a while, because if I'm working within these bounds of I only have about this much yearly bonus, you know, then I got some tape in my hand here. But if my yearly bonus is about this much, I need to come in about here on the car so I can have some money left over to, you know, put some wheels on it and do some fixing up and different things, right? So I have a narrow window, but these cars are a little bit outside of that window in terms of their price. Okay. And what I would do is I would get a personal loan, which is like a credit card. It's a very high interest thing. When the right car came up, I'd get a personal loan, go snag the car, because I didn't always have the cash on hand right then. And then when my bonus came in, I would then go pay off the loan. Now, in that last one I put out where I kind of went into more detail about that process, I had a lot of people saying, hey, you shouldn't do that. You know, that's really risky. No, not really. We don't have other car payments, and our house payment's fairly low. We got good interest rate and an older house, so it's cheap. My overall expenditures are fairly low compared to most people, because I've really tried to do that. We got an older house specifically for that purpose, right? So, yeah. I'm a pretty frugal person, and so if I needed that bonus for an emergency, like my air conditioner goes out or something, right? If I needed that bonus for that, and then I was stuck with that car payment for a while, that's well within my means to cover that car payment. So I never go like snag something and I'm like waiting for the money to come in later, unless, you know, because obviously you don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? So if you're taking a loan now on the money coming in later, you have to be okay with, I'm stuck with this loan, I have to pay it out for a while until I can do something different or sell the car or whatever. So, yeah, don't go getting like a personal loan for a car if you don't have a solid backup plan or you're easily able to cover that loan amount, okay? Now, moving on from that. Neighbor's adult son was over, and he was kind of asking me about the cars, and there's, you know, that old video that I put out describing what I just said in longer terms. But there's another side to that story too. There's what I just talked about. It's not just the cars I have. I really like the cars I have. It's the people I got them from. They're maybe even a better story. So that's what this video is. I'm here to tell you the stories of our 4 Mustangs, and then I might throw in a little bit of the other 2. But yeah, mainly the 4 Mustangs we have. So the red V6, which I'll have it on screen here, the red V6 doesn't really have a huge story behind it outside of, in terms of getting it for like a good price, which the others do have that type of story. So the red V6, my wife wanted one really bad. She worked her butt off in high school and then early college too, right? So like we graduated high school in 2003, and then she bought that car in 2004. It's a 2002. It was about a year and a half old at the time. And she bought it from a dealer. You know, somebody had bought it and traded it in on a different color Mustang or whatever. And she actually had to go a ways, like a 3-hour drive in a fairly rural area where we live, you know, a good distance away. 3 hours in the city, not really sometimes that far. But yeah, she had to go a good ways to get that car because it was torch red like she wanted. And then she always has called it the pony package, but it wasn't. That didn't come till later. But it was, you know, the V6 premium, so it had leather and all the things she wanted, the strap on the side and all the stuff, right? The big thing with that car was her grandma, who is quite a while now since passed away, about 20 years ago. So not long after she bought the car, right? Her grandma co-signed for her and helped her get it. Awesome. And she and I paid it off. So not her grandma, but my wife and I, you know, paid it off. And so I was happy to help her keep that car. We still have it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, whenever she drives it or is, you know, doing whatever, working on it with me or whatever, she's talking about her grandma and how much she misses her grandma and how amazing she was and all these things. So that's a wonderful thing. I love it. Now, we've had some others in there. So I had a 2001 Performance Red V6 base with an auto, okay? No, it might have been a premium. It did have leather interior, but the front seats had been redone in vinyl. And it got keyed not long after we bought it. Somebody left a nasty note about like cheating whore or whatever on the windshield. And so they got my wife mixed up with somebody else or the car sitting in a parking lot at the college. They got that mixed up and we got a new paint job out of it. So they keyed the car all over and they still had enough value at the time. This is a long time ago now, but you know, you could, keying them wouldn't total some of a V6 out like it would a new Edge V6 now. Let's just put it that way. So, complete new paint job, and we put some GT wheels on it, which I actually kept. When I sold that car, I put the factory V6 wheels back on, and I sold those GT wheels to a buddy of mine. Anyway, so that V6, and then I had a black 01 GT that I really wanted a bullet. Oh my gosh, I wanted a bullet so bad. That was one I always wanted. I've got two of them now, which is awesome. I had a black GT, and I did some 10th anniversary Cobra wheels on it. Never lowered it or anything. Did, you know, the Mach 1 chin spoiler and grill delete like you got to do. Should have lowered it, but never did. Just did a bunch of maintenance to it. Rebuilt the whole front end, new hubs, new steering bits, new everything, right, in the front end. And changed transmission fluid, changed rear end grease, oil, whatever, and just drove it. Like, I just drove it back and forth to work. The air conditioner, it was a tan leather interior, too. I really like the black and tan. That's a good combination. But, yeah, the air conditioner never worked. And so I drove it back and forth to work in the middle of Arkansas, humid summer, just with the windows down. It was fine. I was good to go. Love that car. Okay, now let's move to the cars we have now. I've talked about the Red V6. Okay, so I've talked about 3, actually. Okay, that's good. So we only have 3 more to cover. Let's just do them in the order we got them. So the green Bullet. Looking for a Bullet forever. Look, I was looking for a blue Bullet, right? But I came across a green Bullet not too far from us that had basically this whole set of things that I want in a car. The miles were right for the year. The person that I'm trying to buy it from is the right guy to buy it from. And in terms of, like, he really liked the car. He really loved the Mustang thing. He loved bullets. He was super into it. But he had bought it when he had some extra money, and money's a little tight now, and not like taking advantage of the guy or anything, but he knew he sold it. He was like, hey man, he goes, I've had a lot of interest in the car. He's like, but I'm not looking to sell it to just anyone who just wants it and is going to beat on it. He goes, I like these cars. I like bullets. I like the history behind them and stuff. He goes, I'm looking to sell it to somebody who will appreciate it. And he's like, and I think you will. So he found the right buyer. I found the right seller. The car didn't have a radio in it, and it had a few scratches and stuff. It's got a couple little minor dinks in the bodywork, couple little dents. They're very small. It has its fair share of scratches, though. Okay, the car, like the history of it was pretty good. It was bought in Missouri, sat in the garage for half its life. Okay, and then it comes down to Arkansas, gets driven somewhere around northwest Arkansas, and this guy gets it. He's out east of northwest Arkansas ways, and he's had it for about a year or so, and things are starting to go wrong a little bit because it's right around 100,000 miles. And in fact, when I met him halfway to look at it, and then he drove back home, drove it for about a week, and then we met halfway again to actually pick up and buy the car. And when he was driving to meet us halfway, the car turned 100,000 miles. I kind of wish I would have went to his house and got it so I could be the one that, ran it over the 100,000 miles. But that's whatever. It had like 100,034 or 20 something. I don't know. It wasn't much when I got it. Whatever. Like, windows are starting to not work as well. The air conditioner has stopped working. It just needs to be recharged. It has a slow leak. I recharge it with like the cans you can get. I know those have some stop leak stuff in them. That's not great, but I recharge it in the spring, and it typically lasts through the summer, and that's completely fine. So that's what I do. But what he was running into with the car is like he had to pull the radio out, and like it's starting to have problems, and he had to pull the radio out because the radio was draining the battery, which is a normal problem with these Mustangs. But now he like doesn't have the money to really fix these things or put a new radio in it and stuff. So he's driving around with no radio. Perfect car for me, because he wants to sell it to someone that's going to take care of it and fix it up. And he knows he doesn't have a lot of money. He kind of needs the money. Good. It's a good position to be in as a buyer. So I'm test driving it and stuff. The clutch feels like it's about gone too. The radio's gone. I kind of reach in the dash and pull out the 3-wire hookups, and they're not cut or messed up or anything. And I looked at him. I was like, was radio draining the battery? He goes, yeah, it was. I said, do you happen to have it? And he said, no. If I remember correctly, he kind of alluded to it falling off of something. He probably just tossed it. Whatever. No big deal. I told him, I was like, dude, I say it's fine. I was like, I wanted to replace the radios anyway because they do that. And the wires are there. They're not cut. Everything's cool. I was like, I'm not, that's not a knock. The clutch was kind of going out though. And so I don't remember the exact number I paid for it now, but it was less than other bullets were going for at the time. And I've put a new clutch in it, rebuilt the front end, put another radio in it. When I got my Blue Bullet later on, it had its factory radio that came with it, and I had an aftermarket radio in it. So I just took that factory radio and stuck it in the in the Green Bullet, and it's fine. And then since I've done I'm looking at the car out the window here. The staggered 10th anniversary wheels, the 01 Cobra bumper with a Mach 1 chin spoiler, the 0304 Mach 1 hood and shaker. I've taken the isolators off the front springs to get the front end down just a little bit. It has Flowmaster mufflers on it from the previous owner. That's it. I need to redo the tent. The tent's bubbling up on the back window. The car's really stock. I've just maintained it and kept it nice. Moving on to the Blue Bullet. This is a fun one. This might be the best story of them all. I see a Blue Bullet posted for sale, and I wasn't in a position to buy a car at that moment. Had to do the loan thing like I talked about. But I see this Blue Bullet for sale, and I'm like, man. And my wife's looking at it, and she kind of goes, I think that's the one. I'm like, I think it's the one too. Let's it's about, what was it? I think it was about a 4-hour drive, maybe closer to a 5-hour drive from me. It was 5, because it took us about 12 hours total with stopping to eat and then, stopping to buy the car and all stuff. But there's a story. The car had been for sale for a while. I've been looking at it for a while. And I reach out to the dude like, hey, can we talk? Just, curious, want to talk to you about the car and stuff. I get him on the phone, and he's a young guy. He been, I think he's early 20s. He did a few years in the military. He's back home now, and he's needing to sell this car. I'm like, okay, what's the story? What happened here? When the kid was like 17 or something, he lived on a farm in southern Missouri, big farm. And when he was like 17, his grandpa helped him buy this car. Okay, they paid cash for it, no loan or anything like that. But his grandpa signed, put his name on it too, because the 17-year-old wasn't old enough to sign for it. And he's hot rodding around town in this thing, and he goes home, and his dad had seen the car, didn't see him driving it, but had seen this car like doing donuts and driving fast and stuff, and it was like, this blankety blank guy in this Blue Bullet, this blue Mustang, whatever. If I see him, I'm gonna rah rah rah. And the kid kind of was like, well, what if I bought a blue Mustang? And his dad was like, you better not have bought any stupid car and all this stuff. The kid hides the car in a barn, because they have multiple barns on their property, different, hay and what all do you do with multiple barns? I'm not a farmer, but yeah, there's barns for different tractors. There's barns to put hay in to keep it dry, whatever. And then you got seed storage and fertilizer storage, and then crop storage after you harvest it and everything. So it's like there was quite a few little barns on this property. He picked an old barn his dad hardly ever went in, and him and his grandpa put the car in the back corner and like covered it up. They made sure it was nice and dry in there. There was no animals going in that barn or anything. Not much kind of went in and out of there. It was just kind of, extra storage stuff. So back corner, covered it up, had some stuff parked around it so it wasn't easy to see. And the kid's dad did not see it the whole time he was in the military, so 3 or 4 years. He's trying to get married, he's, trying to get his life going and stuff. His dad finds out about it, and his dad's frustrated because his son hid it from him for years. And he's like, get that car off of my property. I think he was living with his parents again for a bit, and his dad's like mad. Like, you have to sell that, even though, it's that thing like, he's a young man, he's an adult, he doesn't have to sell, he doesn't have to do anything. But out of respect for, like, his father's letting him live there for a bit till he gets his own stuff set up. I get it. And so him and his grandpa decided, okay, yeah, we'll sell it. So it's been for sale for a while because it had been in a fender bender on the right side. The door skin had been replaced and the quarter panel had been repaired. At this point, this is a few years back, right? And the bullets at that point, I think they're 20, 25 years old now. It was like 20 or 21 at the time, I think. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to find one again for this price with these miles. It was just right at 100,000 miles. I can find them much lower miles, but that wasn't, I've talked about that price range I have. I'm not finding them in my price range. And even the ones with more miles are still kind of out of my price range and more than I want to spend. So this is the car, right? It's got a little bit of a history. It's been in a wreck, repaired well. I always take a magnet with me when I buy cars, and you can stick magnet all over, and there's no like thick Bondo anywhere. Looks great. And he's got a file this thick, right? And it's every record the car has. And I've actually kept it going. I've got some stuff over here in a bin I need to put in that file. The file's actually in that top drawer in the middle right there. But yeah, all the receipts that's everything that's ever been done to the car, 410 gears and tune, and had a new clutch put in it a few years before he bought it. And I mean, the previous owner before him had just done everything. New window motors, had the front bumper repainted, just everything that it could possibly need. It was done beforehand, before it got bad. And so I'm like, this car is friggin' rad. Thank goodness he did mention to me that, he just ran water in it instead of water and coolant because it was about to be freezing a few nights later. Yeah, I'm glad he mentioned that because I was able to dump that out and then put some 50-50 mix in it. Anyway, that's an aside. Essentially, I got it for a few grand less than it was really worth because he had trouble selling it due to the accident that it had been in. The people that were after blue bullets were after perfect blue bullets. If you see me keep looking off to the side, we have a storm rolling in, and I've got a wire strung out to my car with the battery tender, and I'm like, is it going to be okay? I don't know, because it's strung out to the one with the shaker hood, the green bullet, and so I'm like, I think I moved it away from the drain. I don't have the tube on the shaker that drains it where it's supposed to, so it kind of just drains down to the valve cover. I'm going to fix that real soon. So we get that car, we drive it home. It was great. It was super fun. My wife I drove up there in my lower 2004 Silverado, and she drove home in that, and I drove the car home because she can't drive stick. Now, the last one. The Mach 1, 2004 Auto Mach 1. If I remember right, there's only like 135 of those made. There ain't many, okay? It does have the Mach 460 audio system. So if it was a blue auto without the Mach 460 and without the interior upgrade package, it does have the IUP. If it was without those things, it'd be a really rare car. No one cares about that stuff, though. Old people care about that stuff. Young people don't care about that stuff. We get to a point, I'm coming up on one of those bonuses. I know it's going to happen within the next few months. Things are looking good. We've got other reserve savings and different things, and things are fine, okay? And it's coming up on my wife's 40th birthday. And I'm like, I've never really done anything big for her birthday. And I just want to do something for her 40th. I just want to do something big. So I put a feeler out online and I said, hey, looking for an Azure Blue Auto Mach, has to be 2004 with the 9-thread heads. I don't, partly for me, I didn't want to deal with the possibility of blowing spark plugs, right? With the 4-thread heads or whatever I think it's 4 threads. So you want the 9-thread heads, the later heads. which they actually started putting those on in late '03 model year, but most the '04 has them. And then my wife also wanted the 40th anniversary badge on the side of the car. She really likes that, right? And it's not a 40th anniversary package. That's a different thing that you couldn't get on the Mach 1. Anyway, so she wanted interior upgrade package. She wanted auto because she's got a horrible left knee with no cartilage left and bone spurs and all kinds of stuff. So driving stick is just not going to happen for her. All right. And she says, hey, another thing too, the air conditioner has to work. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, but like if it doesn't, we'll just get it fixed when we get it home. But that wasn't a thing. But Azure Blue Auto 04 Mach 1. That's what we're after. Azure, and it was kind of for both of us too, because like I had in the past a car I forgot to tell you about a little bit ago. I'd had a 04 Dark Shadow Gray 5-speed Mach 1, and it was full bolt-ons, everything, not boosted, but full bolt-ons, and it was a pretty stout little car. It's quick for what it was. I know this new stuff's fast. Whatever. I'm not a drag racer. I like corners. That was kind of part of the reason I sold that gray Mach 1 too, was because with as quick as it was, I was getting to on some of these back roads with like a 40 mile an hour speed limit. I'd get to like 140 between corners, and I didn't even feel like I was pushing that hard. I was like, okay, this is a little much. And so I sold it and kept that green Bullet as my cornering car because it was slower. I was like, that's better. Anyway, on a road course, the power, sure. On the back roads, you don't need that much power to go way over the speed limit if you're smooth. Anywho, all that aside, I put out a feeler online, and I said, hey, looking for an 04 Auto Azure Blue Mach 1. Has to be that. No exceptions. That's the only car I'm looking for. I said, I've messaged one guy. There was one in Tulsa, which is a couple hours from me, and he never messaged me back, and the car was still posted a year later, which was, I don't know what was up with that. Anyway, I said, it's kind of a feeler, seeing what's out there, and this dude messaged me, and I checked his profile, and he lived in New Mexico, okay? And he messaged me, he's like, hey, I've got that car. It's currently lowered, but I can put the factory springs back on it if you want, stock height. You say, because he's like, you said it was for your wife, so she probably doesn't want low, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, this dude's a considerate fella. All right, so, probably be okay to work with. You try to fill out the people that you're buying cars from, right? He said, private message me if you're serious, and we'll get on the phone or whatever, and let's make a deal. And he's like, I will. He goes, in fact, this car had been for sale for a long time, and I had seen it for sale for a while. It was a long ways from me, right? It's like 800 miles one way. And so I never really considered it. But he was like, been for sale for a while. I'll make you a good deal. Message me. So I messaged him. We get on the phone. He's a cool dude. He's in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And he lived and worked. He's military. What's the White Sands Air Base or whatever it is? I know the park's out there. I don't remember. But the air base that's near White Sands, whatever it's called. He worked there. He was near retirement, but he was looking to get a newer Mustang. And he'd had this car, and had it lowered and different stuff. And he tells me the backstory. He's like, hey, he goes, the car has 89,000 miles on it. Air conditioner works great because it's the desert. We have to have the air conditioner working great. I'm like, okay. I believe you because it's miserable in southern Alamogordo's down there, El Paso. It's miserable down there. Very inhospitable area to live. So he said, hey man, he's like, the car had been owned by my buddy. I think his buddy had it since new or almost new. But what happened? I don't remember what happened to it. Something small, but it was like one of those things where he was busy and worked a lot, and he's like, I'll get back to it. So he parks it beside his house. And no rust or anything, but baking out in that sun, the paint was just gone off the car. I've got pictures of it. I might put some of those in here. I've seen worse, but the paint was cooked. And so this guy got it, and he did some stuff, fixed it up a little bit, did some LED lights and different things, and had it painted. Now, probably had it painted at Mako. It's fine. Looked great. Now, if you walk up on it and looking at it real close, there's a couple little bubbles. There's a couple little things. At some point, I'm probably going to have to repaint the side scoops, the lower side scoops, and then the trunk as well. The trunk has some bubbles on it. My buddy was looking at the car, and he's like, that's rust. And I was like, no. Fiberglass. It's like, it's just something happened. Just a bubble. But the top of one of the side scoops, the paint has actually peeled a little bit, and you can see the faded azure blue paint beneath it. Okay. And the car had been in some kind of front end wreck too. Not bad. There's a little split in the metal above and forward of the passenger shock tower, and you can tell that the passenger shock tower's moved in maybe just a little bit, right? And there's a couple bolts there that are, the paint's broken on them and they're not quite where they were from the factory. But the car is good alignment, it's straight, the panel gaps are good. No history of totaled or anything like that. It just got whacked somehow. I don't know. So yeah, like, car's fine. It's a really good shape. The interior's pretty good. Here's another fun thing with this one. The interior's pretty good, but the seats are split like they do. Yeah, but it came with Mach 1 seat leathers and foam from like a 20 or 30,000 mile car. I think about 20,000 mile car, because the owner of that car, which was somebody, the previous owner of the Mach 1 knew him, his seats started to look a little wore on the edges, and he just went to TMI and bought brand new ones. And he took his old ones off, so this guy got them, bought them from his buddy. And so I've got some new Mach 1 leathers. I'm pointing this way because they're in a closet right over here, kind of behind me off to the side. So I've got some new Mach 1 leathers to put in there. Now the seats, they're not that bad to just look at them. They could be replaced. Like, they have some splits along the seams and stuff, and so you don't really look. You look at the passenger seat and it's got a split, but you don't see it unless you put pressure on it. Then it kind of opens up. The driver's seat bolsters, bad. That's normal. But I'll replace those. And then it came with a ton of extra parts. Extra rear lower control arms, and extra chin spoiler, and the factory radio, and because it has an aftermarket radio with touchscreen and everything. And it was all done well, right? And like, it was just, I could tell the dude, like, he didn't have a ton of money to throw at the car. Couldn't go get like a $10,000 or $15,000 paint job, but he did it. He did it upright. It was nice. So we had struck a good deal already. He gave me probably $4,000 less than what that car could sell for, and mainly just because it had been for sale for a long time. It had been repainted. Not the best disc paint job, but it's not bad. I've had it in car shows, and people think it looks great. Okay, there's just like, I've painted cars and stuff before, and if you're picky and you can look around, you can find a few things. Most people just think it looks great, and I'll post pictures up here on the video. You guys will see it. It looks fine. So yeah, we get the car, we drive it back home. Air conditioner works great. It's fine. Now, it did have, I found out later, the rear lower control arms, the bushings had completely gave out and started falling out. So I just put some Maximum Motorsports rear lower control arms in it, and it's fine. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that was just a cool thing. That guy's name was Juan, and so I'm sure this is like a cheesy dad joke, but I put him in my phone as Mach 1, which made me laugh. And yeah, just cool people. All of them were like, even the guy that with the blue bullet, he was wanting someone to get it that was like into the bullet thing, right? I didn't really mention that. And so, like I said, he had some interest in it, and they kind of turned her away because it was a bullet that had an accident, and they were looking for no accident history on a blue bullet. But he got to me, and I'm like, I don't really care. Like, it's been fixed properly. There's not thick patches of Bondo. The paint looks great. There's no orange peel. It's fine. Cars get in accidents, and they can be fixed. It's whatever. As long as it's done well, it's fine. So that's kind of where I was at with that. And he was really happy, the blue bullet guy. He was really happy that I was into the bullet thing, and I had another bullet, and I was kind of, adding it to a collection. He just thought that was the coolest thing. So yeah, that's the story of who I bought the cars from and kind of how I got them. How I got them all cheap, too, because that's important these days. Anyway, when you're going to buy cars, you don't have to get something immediately. Other stuff will come up. Even if you see what you think is the absolute perfect thing and you miss it, it's cool. It's fine. Something else will come up. Just hold on. With Marketplace and Craigslist and everything, we can find stuff these days. Because I'll tell you, when I went to get that gray Mach 1, that dark shadow gray Mach 1 I had, that was 2014. The cars were only 10 years old at that point, and Facebook Marketplace wasn't what it is now. I had such a hard time finding that car. I searched for a local-ish Mach 1. I live near Fort Smith, Arkansas, okay? my search range, not so much north because of rust, and I was looking for cars with like 80 to 100,000 miles. And this is again 2014, but my search range was like out to Oklahoma City, down to Houston, just this big southern circle of like trying to find one of these cars. It took me 4 or 5 months to find a really nice Mach 1 that didn't sell immediately. There was a couple, like it got to a point where I see one, I'm looking at the pictures are good. I would shoot someone a message with an offer. Like, because I had the cash waiting, and I was like, hey, if the car's still for sale, and it was like 10 different cars that came up, and they didn't come up very often, okay, at the time. Again, 2014. But like 10 different cars, I would shoot an offer to the person, like a legitimate offer, maybe 500 lower than their asking price. And every single one of them said, yeah, I just posted that yesterday. It's already sold. I just haven't had time to take it down yet. So they were hard to get at the time. And it took, like I said, it took me months to get that gray Mach 1. I did not tell you guys how long it took to find and work a deal on that blue Mach 1. And like I said, there's about 135 of those made. It should be hard to find, being that it was like 20-something years old, okay? 3 days. From my feeler to working out the deal with the guy, my post about asking if there's any of these out here for sale, to working out the deal with the guy and having everything lined out outside of, asking for vacation and getting, times, exact days we were going to do it, 3 days. So if you were looking for something rarish, you can find it. Just, it might take a little while, or geez, it might take no time, but just keep looking. And, if you see one that you think's perfect, but the price is not going to be there, unless there were only like 1 or 3 of those cars made, just keep looking. You'll find that deal eventually. And I don't even think I got really good. I got a buddy that gets amazing deals on all kinds of stuff, and he just throws out lowball offers. But the thing is, he does a lot of offers, and the ones that he gets, and so it looks like he does it a lot, but he puts out a lot more offers than I do on stuff. So that's how it goes. Anywho, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe. I've got 602, I think, right now. Let's get this up to 1,000, and then 2,000, then 10,000, then 1.5 million, then 15 million. And then I'll just have a lot of cars, and I'll review them and do car shows with them, and take them all over the country, let other people drive them and have fun with them, and teach people how to work on cars, and detail cars, and do all the fun things with cars, because I like cars.